Right. Good luck with that, John. Okay, let's now go to the minutes. Then we get a bit of illumination on the job. Thanks, Paul. So for accuracy, page 2, everyone's got a copy there. No, the other one, you've declared an interest. Paul, you've hit the wrong button. Second one down. Main meeting. Okay, let's go for accuracy, page 2, page 3, page 4, with noted Councillor Dick, page 5, and page 6, 7, 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12. Someone happy to move? That's a true and correct record. Thank you, Councillor Scott. We have a seconder for that. Everyone's busy looking there. Thank you, Councillor Pipe. I'll put that motion in. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Matters arising from those minutes. Okay, thank you. Follow-up items. The Chief Executive, please. Page 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, councillors. We have four follow-up items from the last council meeting. You can see the status comment on each of those, and I will take questions on those, but I think they're reasonably self-explanatory. The question there around the appeals lodged to the nature preservation zone, and we've detailed there that there are two. Neither of them wish to see that zoning removed, but they each have appealed a number of specific provisions within the proposed zoning for those. And then the two follow-up items from the October council meeting. There's an email attached, and then the date advising when a report will be prepared and presented to you for the Otani wastewater consent. So I'll take questions.
Councillor Balfour.
Just regarding the nature preservation, so the appeals that have been lodged, are they of any consequence to us? Are we taking any view of it?
Well, I've taken some advice from Gavin on that. We haven't become a Section 274 party to either of those. There's possibly a case for us doing it for one of them. One of them, the appellant is seeking the removal of the outstanding natural landscape provision along the coastline, essentially from the point of the Cape south. So potentially we could become a party of that appeal, but Gavin's view is that Hastings District Council have fairly strong provisions in their district plan to be able to defend that position, and the fact that that overlay, if you like, which is what it is, should remain in there. So at the moment we haven't, but we would not be averse to becoming a 274 party if that was the general consensus.
Further questions? Someone happy to move? Then we thank you, Councillor Bevan. We have a seconder for that, and thank you, Councillor Barker. You wish to speak? I'm wishing to speak. I'll put the motion in. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Minor items. Where's that? Councillor Belford.
Boundary change.
Very good. Other questions, Councillor Bevan?
Royalties on water used for bottling.
Bottling. Further minor items, Councillor Scott.
I've got three. The Chairman, Royal Society, Dairy Awards, Cactus.
What the awards were? Sorry, Dairy Awards. Okay. Ah, yes. Right. Okay, no other minor items. Right, let's get into the meeting decision items of fixing the common seal.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. As you can see, the leasehold land sales continue. 2 new staff warrants there, and the earthworks contract was for the works that was approved by the tenders committee in November.
So can I have an opportunity to ask a question in regard to Councillor Dick's conflicted issue? I don't know if this is the time to bring it up or not, but just where are we at with that?
I'll ask Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Chairman. We did go back to our lawyers and say, just give us a bit of background on the process, and there isn't. We have legal title to a further section which we've outlined. It was a bit of a mess, and it needed to be put right. One way to do that was to sell it to interested parties and let them put it right. As far as the car park was concerned, our lawyers tell us that the process that we did was sound, in that we asked all the tenants in that area whether they'd like to show an interest and purchase it. There was only one that did so, so it was sold to one of the tenants for car parks, and the legal letter indicates that the Napier City Council didn't have it designated as service lane or any common property, so the title was ours. It needed to be maintained, so we sold it. Yeah.
So has there been any challenge to that?
No legal challenge, no.
Mr Chairman, I understand my son wrote to the Chief Executive and yourself, and you both should have received a letter.
I have not received a letter.
No, I haven't.
I would remember it if I had.
I understand it was delivered here on Monday afternoon.
Hasn't. Well,
Follow
I
up.
haven't seen it. I'll certainly
Strange.
be looking at that when it came in. But okay. Right. Well, let's get back to the agenda as it sits in front of us. Is someone? There's no further questions. Happy to move? Oh, you've got a question.
Just a question on the earthworks. Has that started yet, and when will it be completed?
No, due to start in the new year, and I think it's about a 5 or 6 weeks contract. I'm not sure on the exact duration, I can check, but it's not due to start until the new year.
Okay. Someone happy to move then? Happy to move. Councillor Scott. We have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Right. Environment Services Committee, Mr Chairman of that, would you give us
Thank you, Chair.
summation?
We had a very good but long meeting. Firstly, the Waitangi Estuary enhancement. We agreed to commit $311,000. The balance of, I've forgotten exactly what the figure was, but the balance was coming from outside sources, which include the Waka Trust and other community sources. We also voted in Dave Pipe as the council's representative on the park body, a little committee that they've got going to. It's a combination of the regional council, the Waka Trust, and they wanted a council representative. Reports received. We received a report from Derek. I see. Thank you very much, Derek. That was really excellent. On Tuterra. Report on recreational water quality. A report, and also along the same lines on the Central Hawke's Bay wastewater compliance update, which was very good also. Gravel management review. We went through that, and we also had a report from Rob and fellow farmer Ann Wilson. And I just want to talk a little bit about that because they had a fundamental query that I think that I would like to have ensure that's in the minutes, and that was Who had the statutory responsibility for ensuring that the gravel levels in the river did not adversely affect farmland on the river boundary? So that was a fundamental question which he wanted us to ask, but especially related to those gravel levels were caused by an extraordinary event, which it was in his view they were. So he wanted us to look at our charter and say, was there a responsibility there? So if we could follow that up, please. A report on biosecurity, the annual report, pests, animals and plants, land management report, client services, and a science report as well. And a resource use and consents operational plan. And that was it.
So in relation to the following up, I mean, that will be a matter arising out of the minutes that the Environment
Yeah, I
Services.
just want to ensure that it was on the minutes.
I have
Thank
no
you.
idea, but that'll be the place to deal with that. So any questions or anything here? Councillor Balfour.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the Estuary Enhancement Committee and our representative to that body. My understanding is that the chairman of the Environment Committee has reflected further on the matter and would like to see this issue re-raised, which I'm happy to do, in terms of who should be our representative on that committee. And I'm prepared to make a motion that since we are reconsidering at this opportunity of double debate our previous action on that, I'd like to make a different recommendation as to the outcome. So should I speak to that now? Item
Excuse me.
3.
Item 3.
Yep.
Our appointment of Councillor Dave Piper as council's representative on that body.
Correct. Mhm.
Right. And you've got a different view.
Yes,
Right. So,
I have a different candidate.
right, okay. Let's see if there's any other questions. We'll deal with that when we get to the recommendation. I think would be the place to do it. So are there any other questions about any other part of this paper? Councillor Hewitt.
I was told on the day that the boundary for that Waitangi was in the Napier boundary, but I understand it's in the Hastings.
It is
Is that
Hastings.
correct?
I think that's correct. I could ask,
If I can say, the boundary between Napier and Hastings runs down the centre line of the Tudaikuri River, and a small part of the north end of Waitangi Park fits into that area. The majority of it is south, and it extends down as far as the Tugi River.
so can you, just in relation to, as we head into this, perhaps another recommendation around council's representative, can you just remind us what that role entailed?
The reason for suggesting that there be a committee was to assist in obviously the public and particularly the local government interface associated with funding for that project. The main area of work that is envisaged at this stage is in the northern part of the Waitangi estuary, or the development area, which is between really the Tudaikuri sort of overflow river mouth and the Nararara river mouth. So it's in a fairly small part, mostly in Hastings district, but it's certainly in the northern part of the park and linking in with a lot of sort of design for Napier City Council, that in terms of their vision for their waterfront all the way along the coast.
There is a fundraising component in that. Huge, okay. Any other questions on any other part of the paper?
The question around this, one of the things that the presenters brought up was the aspect of sponsorship and the obvious area of sponsorship of the Awatoto commercial properties. Which district do they sit in?
They're in the north side of the park, so sitting within Napier City.
I think we got hung up on the boundary issue on the day, in my view. I don't think it really matters. I mean, everyone will get to enjoy it, even us folk from Wairoa, if we choose to drive down that way. Can we get then to the recommendations if there's no further questions? And I'm going to suggest perhaps we move 1 through 2, 1 and 2, 4 and 5 en masse, and come back to 3. Does that satisfy your... And then you may wish to move an amendment to that, is what I'm hearing. So if we could, if someone's happy to move 1, 2, 4 and 5 now. Yeah. And a seconder for that? You happy to second that, Councillor Pipe? So further discussion on that? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Now, Councillor Belford wished to move an alternate person, is what I'm hearing. Okay.
I'd like to recommend that Councillor Graham be the representative on this committee, and I have a few reasons.
Just hang on. So it would read, everything would remain the same except the appointment of Councillor Rex Graham.
Correct.
Okay. So someone happy to second that? Thank you. Councillor Barker, wish to speak?
Yeah, I think this is a important undertaking that has a lot of moving parts to it, including a variety of constituencies that need to be nurtured along the way here, a very substantial fundraising challenge ahead to meet the goals that we have for the project in the order of several $100,000 from a variety of players. I think having the mana of the chairman of the Environment Committee participating in this in a direct way as our representative will enhance our prospects of getting the goals that we wish for this project. The chairman has been a very staunch, vocal spokesperson for our entire parks situation, sometimes to my distress. But I don't think anybody has been more devoted over the last couple of years to seeing that how we approach our parks, how we resource them, the prominence we give to that activity is made very visible and paramount to the work of the council. So he's clearly been a leader in that respect. I also think that the various players that are involved here, the other councils, a whole range of potential funders, Maori interest, and I would say the chairman of the committee has peerless relationships in that community, which are essential to this project going forward, and the NGOs involved. All of that involves some political shepherding, if I may say so, and I think that's really why we're looking for representation on this committee in the first place. And I just think that Councillor Graham would be the best person to accomplish those purposes. And so I'm happy to recommend him as the representative on the committee.
Seconder, do you wish to speak? Oh, okay. Other speakers? Councillor Dick.
I just asked the question as to whether Councillor Graham considers he's conflicted as being a member of the Sailing Trust, the Waka Trust. No. And could I just say that the reason for nominating Councillor Pipe or alternatively Councillor Scott was that this is right on the entry to Napier City, and there is major industry in that area which does not do anything particular for the aesthetics of that entry, and it was considered that with a good association with Napier City Council, it may be possible to influence some of those industries, such as Ravensdown, and there's other big ones there, to corporately sponsor.
Councillor Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I don't doubt Councillor Graham's excellent position, background or whatever, but we did debate this at the previous meeting. And I must admit, I find it a little disappointing when I get an announcement that the chairman wishes me to raise. This we should have been open in the last meeting, I think. The reason that I nominated Councillor Pipe, and I do realise that the bulk of what we're talking about, the development, sits in Hastings, but it is the doorway to Napier. It's on everybody's that goes down that area, and that's, people in and out, up and down the Marine Parade. I can't remember how many users a day pass along that way. It is on their doorstep. And it's that whole Awatoto area, which is an eyesore to the entry to Napier, and one which Napier is seriously looking at how they can improve that entranceway. So to get some cohesion amongst that and to get those people on board and really sort of change that, there seems to me enormous potential there, and I think that was really why I nominated Councillor Pipe with his links back into Napier City. He's had vast experience with that particular council. Those links are already established, and it would be really good. I'm still stick by the fact that I think that is the best nomination, so I will not be supporting this.
If I am allowed a moment to speak, this is interesting. I'm actually going to vote against it, not because I don't think Councillor Graham is any good, but actually we're going to get him for nothing anyway, because you will be, I suspect, will be doing the heavy lifting for the trust. Now, I'm quite comfortable with there is no conflict on the basis that the trust component was a separate piece of work, separate to what we're doing and what the other piece of money is required to help what we're doing. But we're going to get Councillor Graham for nothing, I think. We will have two for the price of one if we stick with the status quo. So I've deliberated on this since it was raised, and no personality issue here at all, but I think we'll get two for the price of one. Councillor Bevan.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, this is no reflection on Councillor Pipe at all, but I will support the motion, and just reflecting on what happened during the course of the meeting that Councillor Graham was chairing. It was a bit unfortunate because the ground almost got set by Councillor Dick saying it had to be somebody from Napier, and I don't see that at all. I think we're getting far too hung up about whether it's in Hastings or whether it's in Napier and whether it should be a Hastings or a Napier person. It's a horses for courses thing, and Councillor Graham has, over the 2-year life of this council, spent a lot of time focused on the parks and reserves for this reason. It's clearly a passion of his, and I think horses for courses, he is the person who will give us the best chance of achieving what we want to here.
Yeah, I can understand why Councillor Graham would like to be on this. I, like you, feel that most probably he's going to be very much involved with the trust, and I was looking forward to working with him on that basis. I guess I come to it with that link into the Napier City Council, with a background working with Pukemoke Marae for 10 years on the trust and building up to the launch of the marae. So I certainly have some connections with Māori and understand the history of the area, and particularly the European history. But it's a matter of, and what I was quite keen and very passionate about is making that area visible and understood a lot more than what it has been. It's been sort of a little bit of a backwater, I think. Just on a personal note, my connections with that particular area go right back to my childhood, and I didn't mention it at the time, but my father worked at the fertiliser works. He was the first guy who actually came in there to actually build the fertiliser works in 1954 when our family moved to Hawke's Bay. So many of the workers there used to go across to the beach, and particularly in what is the overflow area now,
which was actually quite a pleasant area. People might remember in those days for picnicking and for boating and for fishing. We used to fish on the seaside and have a little punt that we used to paddle around in on the other side. So there's some really quite strong family connections and memories that I have of that particular area, and I was certainly looking forward to working with the trust in developing it. So whatever, I'm quite comfortable with whatever the council feels, and whoever the council feels should be better to represent them on that. Right.
And of course, you'll get a chance to vote as well. So do you wish to you exercise your...
Can you clarify, are Rex and Dave voting?
Yep.
Is that a conflict of interest?
No.
You vote for yourself.
Absolutely. Of course you can. We've seen it happen before, haven't we? Do you wish to sum up?
Sorry. I think there are a lot more moving parts here than how the Napier Council feels about it, and I think if one were to look at ownership of who owns what along that strip, you would find that it's probably ownership that's distributed from China to Hastings to wherever. So I don't think it's the roots of the area are what's important. I think what's important is the political skill and the passion that and the mana that the chairman of the committee would bring to the table, and that's what we need in this instance. So that's why I'm recommending him.
So we'll put that motion, and all those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Yeah, the motion is number. I've already moved past it. Sorry, number 3, which is replacing the words Councillor Dave Pipe with the words Councillor Rex Graham. So let's have a show of hands. Those in favour? And against? And the motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, let's now go to consent delegation.